Hello and welcome back to Up the Villa. This is our match preview for Aston Villa v Newcastle on Saturday, 5:30. Really looking forward to it. Big games now. I mean, you might as well just click that on every single one and go big game, big game, big game. But it is a big game. So we're going to reflect on PSG. We are going to look ahead to Newcastle. We're going to predict the Villa lineup and just have a general good chat about Villa. But I don't know about any of you at home, any of you on this screen. I have been absolutely cream crackered all week after that Champions League evening. I've said this all season, to be fair, that it just takes everything out of you, like emotionally. Like, I feel like I've got nothing left. And like, you know, the players, like when they're having to like pick themselves up for this next game, I kind of feel it. I feel it because it's so emotionally intense that you just wake up the next day thinking, oh my God, my mind's frazzled. My voice is normally gone. I've got no energy. So yeah, I couldn't kind of understand how the players are feeling, but you know, it's one of them guys that I think it's just going to be one of them games that just goes down in Villa history as just, you know, obviously we don't need to talk about that we didn't go through. We won that game, and I think it doesn't really have any bearing on the magnitude of what we saw against PSG at home, because I've heard the stories of Atletico Madrid when that goal went in, but my God, when that goal from Konsa went in, oh, it's just class, weren't it? Like my eardrums feel like they're still ringing. The whole tent was shaking, and it's just one of them feelings that I'll never forget, because you know it was a fantastic campaign, and that night was just very special. So, Ryan, you're in the whole tent with me. You can reflect on it because we've not heard your thoughts. So, thoughts on what you made of the whole thing?
Yeah, I think like most, when that final whistle went, it was just pure unfiltered pride, wasn't it? That the fight that we'd put up. Like, nobody wants to exit a competition, but if you're going to exit the Champions League, that's probably the way to do it, where you're fighting to the very last second, and you know that Matson volley at the end. That's how close we took them. And you talking about Atletico, I was in the whole end that day when Collymore scored it, and that was like terrifyingly loud. And the two games sort of followed each other's patterns, really, because we'd lost at Atletico and then we went a goal down at home. So we had a big task of trying to get back into it. And the same happened against Paris Saint-Germain. But what fight and spirit we showed, it was unbelievable. And for me now, we have set a level. We've set a level of performance. What I can see that we can reach consistently. And it was unbelievable. It was unbelievable. That McGinn goal that got us like back into it and back believing. And like you say, Konsa's to follow a couple of minutes later just took the roof off, and we had them on the ropes. We was boom. We were bashing them, and just couldn't get that. Sorry, Luke, did I give you a follow?
Mate, you just punched my cameraman. My camera's just gone flying. Oh my God, what's happened there? Hold on, my camera's on the ropes.
So Paris would have breathed a huge sigh of relief to get out of B6, seriously, because it was a phenomenal night at Villa Park, and we play like that again. We can beat anybody. We can really, we can beat anyone.
Everyone that I've spoke to has just been like, you guys were absolutely quality. Like, not even Villa fans, like, you know, I've been cutting a bit of hair, and just all the guys I'm cutting are like, I was really rooting for you, and like one of them's a Newcastle fan, and he was just like, I was rooting. I wanted you to do it because you played so well, and I think you can tell what we did to them by their reaction. Their manager talking after the game about sort of no one's ever done that to them. Dembele picking up man of the match. He looked embarrassed. He looked embarrassed. And do you know what? I actually felt like as well that I didn't want sort of the PSG players to like run on the pitch and sort of like rub it in. And they didn't do that, did they? Because I think they had to, we gained their respect massively. And I think they knew when they were coming off that pitch that, you know, I imagine there's huge sighs of relief, etc. And I just think we did everything that we wanted to do, didn't we? You know, every Villa fan was listening to people that were saying we've been completely writ off, etc. And we had to stick it on them, and we did, and we made them sort of really panic and suffer. And yeah, it was just absolutely fantastic. And to be in that situation and do that to PSG and to go so far, it's just so pleasing to see that that's our team and that's what we're capable of. And I just absolutely loved it. So, Justin, what were your thoughts, mate? I mean, the amount of celebrities you're interviewing at the minute, I think we're gonna have to start. You're charging by the minute for every comment you make on here now, aren't you?
Yeah, it is incredible, mate. It's one of the nights of my life, to be honest. It was everything I hoped it would be going into it. You know, you know me. I think we can beat anybody on any day, and I was right. We could beat them, and we did. Fantastic night, brilliant atmosphere, brilliant performance. Everybody put their fair share. It would have been an absolute travesty had we gone out, say, to a 4-0 home defeat and a 7-1 aggregate loss. I could have just seen the headlines next day, you know, Villa, you know, good plucky Villa, they did well to get this far, but we always knew this was going to happen. But no, that performance has put us spat bang on the map now of European football. And like Ryan said, the respect is there now. We are going to be very, very well respected. And going into like Saturday and the rest of the season, potentially 8 games left, hopefully 8 games left, we've got to use this fear factor now. You know, everybody watched that game. Everybody knows what we're capable of now. And Newcastle are going to rock in good form, but they're not going to relish coming to Villa Park to play us now. So we've got to make sure we back up this performance with performances for the rest of the season, and we can really achieve massive things with the last 8 games if we do that.
How much was that worth, Justin?
£7, please.
Champions League prices. But like for me, this Champions League this season still isn't over, because hopefully now, like that performance and the competition that we've had will inspire us now to go and get a place again for next season. That's the legacy. That's the legacy of this season competition to go now. Use that as inspiration to go and get this top 5 finish.
Yeah, absolutely massive. So next 2 are big. They're all big, but Newcastle at home, a team that are in really good form, just like ourselves, a team that are striving for the same ambitions that we are. They've won a trophy. We could possibly win a trophy. You know, they're going for Champions League football. They're aspiring to continually get that, just like Villa, a very good team. I massively respect them. I think their midfield is exceptional. I think they're coached very well. For me, they've got the best striker in Europe at the minute in Isak. A very, very good team. A team that we did well when Unai first came up against them, that home game, and then the next 2 have not been that great. We had the one at St James's Park when Duran got sent off, and I thought we were in that game up until that. But yeah, we've really got to make sure we put a good marker down. But I think when I look at teams like Newcastle now, Villa, Forest, anyone trying to break that big 6 bias, I'll take my hat off, because, you know, we're all big clubs and we're all trying to break that mold. And I think, you know, it's about time that we kept our place there. And I think it's, you know, good to see different types of teams sort of ahead of Man United, Spurs, that lot. So, it's good in that way. But I think Newcastle are having, they're having a great season, aren't they? They've won the Cup trophy already. They look like they're going to get Champions League again. So that's really good. So, Ryan, what have you made of Newcastle this season?
They're on fire right now. They're on fire. They won that League Cup, and they've just bounced off it. Sometimes teams they can lose their form a bit after they've won a competition. Exactly. Yeah, they won it and got relegated from mid-table, didn't they? Boys. I'd seen them again. Since that. And my brother-in-law's a Blue Nose, and he was saying, "Yeah, we've got 100% winning record at Wembley." And then, look what happened Sunday. Flipping out.
Sorry.
But yeah, back to Newcastle. Yeah, they're on fire. I think it's 6 out of 6. They've won it now. They're free scoring. Tactically, I think lately they've been excellent. Like the League Cup final, for example, they really tactically scored Liverpool, and even the other day when I was watching them against Man United, Fernandes was getting a lot of joy, and they tweaked it to stop that, and they went and won 4-1 at home there. They've backed it up with a 5-0 win against informed Crystal Palace, and there's a lot to like about them. Like their press is very high and very aggressive. They've got like some engines in midfield. Tonali, we knew he was class anyway, and he's now he's put his troubles behind him with his betting issues and stuff like that he had, and now he's settled down. He's playing some lovely football, and they've got a right engine in that midfield. That the three of them in there is huge, and they penetrate the wings very well. They break really fast. So we're in for a really tough tactical battle, and like I say, they've kind of had our number right now. Sort of Newcastle and Palace have been the two teams of the last couple of seasons that have had us over, but there's a chance now, isn't there? There's a chance to redeem, and these two teams are coming up, and it's like a huge occasion. Like we've got a big week. We've got Newcastle City away, and then we've got Palace in the FA Cup. So it's the start of a huge week for us, and look. This is where we want to be. We want to be competing on all fronts, and we want to be playing week in, week out. We want to be playing in all the competitions, and this is what we've got our big squad for. And everybody's chomping at the bit. And yeah, I hear what you're saying, Luke, about being emotionally tired. I remember it against the Bayern game, feeling absolutely shattered all week, and we're just fans. And we played Man United, didn't we? And it was a bit flat. So hopefully we can pick up from that experience, and I think us fans have got to bring it again on Saturday, haven't we? We've got to generate the atmosphere that we did on Tuesday night, and really roar the lads home on this one.
Yeah, definitely. We'll have just a quick little look at what we can expect from Newcastle tactically then. So they are a 4-3-3, so it's a pretty generic 4-3-3. So we've got Livramento left back at the minute. He's a right back. Hall's injured. We've got Burn, Shaw, and Trippier. We've got Tonali at the base. We've got Jolinton. We've got Gomes, Murphy, Isak, and Harvey Barnes, who always does score against Villa. So hopefully that doesn't happen. Like Ryan mentioned, they've got different ways in which they can play. Very aggressive, very strong, very powerful. So it's vitally important that Villa win the duels. That has got to be the first and foremost. Win those duels, win those individual battles, and you are a percentage of the way there to sort of getting on top of Newcastle. What you'll find is that Livramento will be up and down, so he'll go up and down, and then either wide player can come inside. And then what that means as well is that if the Livramento's gone forward and Harvey Barnes, there's a possible overload. So, you have to defend those wide areas. They're very big on overloads. Tonali at the base is sort of like that Italian stallion driving forward, very strong. And then you've got Jolinton and Gomes that really complement each other. Either of those can go forward. Either of the three can go forward. but you've really got to make sure you're getting on top of that midfield three. Murphy's having a fantastic season as well. So there's just a little bit of a breakdown. They can go man for man as well. So if they do adopt that technique, then Villa might look to go a little bit longer in this game as well. But I think winning the battles is the first and foremost. Winning that midfield battle, if you win that, you'll get joy. If you can run in behind this midfield as well, Manchester United were able to get in behind that midfield three. And then when you start looking at sort of like driving down on a 4 at the back or a 3 at the back, then players like Watkins, Rashford, Rodgers, Ramsey could be vital in this game. Justin, what are your thoughts on Newcastle so far this season?
Yeah, they've been good, haven't they? They've momentum has just built and built and built. That was a little bit patchy at the start, but they've just got better and better and better, haven't they? They're good players now, have come into form at the right time. And they've used that cup win now as a springboard to sort of cement where they were in the league. You know, that really big win in the week at home against Palace has put them in pole position really now for easily a top 4 position, top 4-5 position. And they're even looking like they could hunt down Arsenal if Arsenal take their eye off the ball in the league and concentrate on Champions League now. So they've got everything to play for. And I think, if I'm honest, I think this is a good game for Villa to come off the back of the Champions League game. I really do. I think it's a game we can get our teeth into. You know, we're 18 unbeaten at Villa Park. Nobody wants to play us at Villa Park. The players, whilst they'll be mentally drained, I think they'll be fine physically. I think they're used to now these 2 games a week. They're going to be, you know, they're conditioned to make sure that they're ready for these games. We carry a really terrific squad now that can cope with games, 2 games a week. And I think, you know, that Newcastle potentially could be a really good fit for us. Yes, I know I'm not tempting fate because they have had, you know, a little bit of our number lately, but, you know, they're a big side. We're a big side. I think the old Big Six is gone now. I think I'm discounting Spurs and Man United now, and Villa and Newcastle make up the new Big Six. I think that's pretty firm for me now. And I think this little run we've been on has just given us that little bit of breathing space to Bournemouth. So I think that 6 points to Bournemouth now has created this mini league now between 3rd and 7th. And there's, 3 places up for grabs from 5 teams. And we're in it now. We're in it to win it. And for me, the next 2 games are critical. They're massive because you only look who we're playing. But I think if we can secure 4 points from the next 2, I fancy us to win our last 3. And I think that puts us in pretty good position to finish in the top 5. So, yeah, critical game Saturday. Huge game, big team. We're going to get toe-to-toe. The midfield, I think, like you've alluded to, is probably where it's going to be won and lost. I think both forward lines are capable of scoring, and I think our defence has been a lot better recently. You know, they've been very good at the back. I know we'll come on to probably picking the team soon, but I like what we did against Paris Saint-Germain, and I wonder whether he might continue with it.
Yeah. So just touching on Palace then, where are we at with them? Because, you know, we got 2 games before we play them at Wembley, sort of late next week. Where would you think they're at the minute? You know, they've lost the City away, they've lost the Newcastle away. Where
they're concentrating on the FA Cup.
Do you? Do you think they'll do that?
They're going to throw everything in. I don't think they've got a choice, have they? I think, what are they? They're pretty comfortably mid-table. They've got no real chance of finishing in the European places unless they win every single game. I think that it's pretty obvious they're just going to throw everything at us at Wembley a week on Saturday, and we are due a win against them. That's what I'm putting my house on. We are due a win, and the big open spaces at Wembley hopefully will sort us out.
Yeah, I mean, we are a different Villa to the one that they've faced this season so far. You know, we are the best version we can be right now.
Perfect timing.
Let's see how they do against the best version of Villa then. Right, so
I think just before you move on, if anybody beats us in these last 8 games, then they've played very well. That's all I care about. If we continue our levels and somebody beats us playing like that, fair play to you.
Okie dokie. Right. Do you want me to do the lineup, being as why I was quite good last week in it, or not?
You're not going to let us live that down, are you?
No. Right, Unai. Right, this is what we're going with, Unai. So if you are watching, this is what we should do. Right, Ryan. We'll have some fun with this then. Ryan, I want you to pick the striker and who's playing on the right-hand side.
Back to front, I like it. Curveball.
Okay, all right then. Let's go with this. Up front.
Yeah.
I'm thinking Ollie Watkins. I am thinking Ollie Watkins. I think
Really?
the two. Yeah, I think the two doesn't mean that I'm putting Rashford out of the team, but
Yeah, okay.
I think Watkins up top. They're physical, aren't they? They're physical. Then back two, and I just feel like Watkins can mix it up a bit more so than Rashford physically. I know Rashford's got a lot of movement and he'll drift and pull him out of position, but I just feel like Watkins up there can lead the line well against Newcastle.
And who's on the right-hand side?
On the right-hand side, I went with John McGinn. Super John McGinn. I'll tell you what, I was a proud dad today, lads. Just to swerve off for a minute. Come home from work. The boy Ralph, 6-year-old, is in the back garden and he runs up to this ball, blasts it. I'm standing behind him and he goes, McGinn! And he blasts the ball. I've been showing him the goal from the other night and I caught him on his iPad watching the McGinn goal, and then he was out in the back garden doing it and I thought, oh, yes. That's what it's all about, man. So, just for that, McGinn gets in my team.
Okay,
but yeah,
okay.
I had him on the right hand side, kind of like to deal with that Livramento threat. He bombs forward there, and I feel like McGinn could help out there and help out in midfield as well against the threat.
Okay, Justin, two centre halves, please.
I've been thinking about this all day, and I still can't make my mind up. I've got to say, what a fantastic position this is to be in, don't you think, lads? This is just ridiculous. We've got all these options, and we just don't know what's happening. Right,
I swear we used to skim over these and go, yep.
Yeah, because we only had 11 players to choose from. Konsa, definitely.
Yeah. Okay.
And these are the problems, like the Watkins, Rashford up front. You can make an argument for either of them. I know he doesn't tend to think ahead, but we've got a huge game on Tuesday. I'm trying to think who fits this game better, and I thought Pau Torres was outstanding against PSG. He was absolutely beautiful to watch on the ball. He's so stunning to watch as a footballer. But I do wonder, maybe with the threat of Isaac, that he might maybe switch to Tyrone Mings and give Pau a little bit of a rest. So I think I'm leaning towards Tyrone.
Yeah. I so far so good, guys. So far so good. All these are in my team, so we are all agreeing. Last predicted lineup was a little bit all over the show, wasn't it? But this one feels like we're getting there. Right. So I agree with Mings because, like you, I think we've really got to make sure we're managing Pau's workload as well, because
he's only just come back as well, hasn't he?
Yeah. So we can't run him into the ground, and I do think
I feel physicality, set pieces. Dan Burn, Fabian Schär, Joe Linton's big. Oh, it's
the free from midfield that will box crash.
Yeah.
You've got to snuff that out, and Mings is the ideal man for it.
Right. I'll let you two go with some more difficult decisions. So I'm going to go.
You put the easy ones in. That's it.
I'll go Yuri and Kamara. So that's what I'll go with. Right. So Ryan, left back and left side in midfield.
This is where I've been torn. I love Maatsen and Rashford together because I
Okay.
like Maatsen coming in that half space and inverting when Rashford's keeping the width. So I like them. I like that pairing, but I also like and love the positions that Jacob Ramsey picks up in our team, and I feel like that's an area. Bruno Fernandes, I touched on it earlier. He's getting a lot of joy in that half space area the other day. Newcastle did like tactically switch it up and sort of went 5 at the back and 4 in midfield and 1 up top for the second half, and it completely snuffed him out. So I don't know whether they do something similar there, but I sort of went with Rashford on Trippier, and backed up by Maatsen as well. Jacob Murphy, in the form of his life, everything he hits is going in the back of the net at the minute. He's on fire, but with Maatsen's pace, I prefer Luka Dean's defending, but I think with Maatsen's pace, Murphy, that's a decent matchup. So that's my thinking for the left-hand side.
Yeah. And just
before you move on, I've got a question for you too. How do you feel about this sort of rumour coming out that Unai's not fancying Rashford on the left because he feels like it's changing the way we play when he plays out there because he does hug that touchline? What do you feel about that? Because I sort of feel like it's turning into a bit of Rashford or Watkins up front. I don't think he wants him out left anymore.
Yeah, I mean, general makeup of the team normally is that the right-sided player, if that was Bailey, that's your width, isn't it? And we'd have Ramsey in there that sort of sits in and you're asymmetric and there's your width. So I think the problem that Unai is probably thinking is if you have him out there, then Maatsen, like Ryan's saying,
can you play Maatsen there?
Well, you can, because these two work good because Maatsen generally goes more inside and plays in there more, and he operates through there. So that combination is perfect. But I think when it's Luka Dean there, Luka Dean doesn't do that. So I think that's probably where he's not really liking the balance. So that's why it's Rashford or Watkins. What do you think, Ryan?
Yeah, it's kind of made some comments. It's going back to Duran days about getting Duran and Watkins on the pitch together as what he said as strikers, though, didn't they? And he talks about getting Rashford and Watkins together, playing as a pair. But he was kind of saying he hasn't really got enough time, or he thinks he'll run out of time to go for a forward two. But I think when Rashford's on the left, I don't feel it buckles our structure too much, because, like you say, with Maatsen inverting, it still gives us that balance. It's just we've kind of like flipped what we.
Do you think it's more? Personally, I think it's more game dependent whether Rashford can play on the left. That's what I think. I think if Unai feels that Maatsen can play in there and can operate there against maybe lesser opposition, I think Unai's a bit more comfortable at doing that. I think we saw it for the first time. Was it Cardiff in the FA Cup, etc.? But I don't know. Yeah. I just think maybe in some other games he's not as comfortable at doing that, really.
No, because if you're pairing with Luka Dean, for example, they were both hugged that touchline, and that's kind of like where you lose the balance. Where if you play Luka Dean and Ramsey, then Ramsey will come into the half space and Luka Dean will hug the touchline. So you've got that spacing right, and then Maatsen and Rashford are the other way around, where Maatsen will invert, but you've still got that balance. But when say if he was to play, say if Ramsey played with Maatsen will offer an overlap, but it's not as effective as what he is inverting, and his best form has come when he's had Rashford down that wing.
Well, I mean, the biggest part of Maatsen is that he inverts, and I remember at the time when we signed him, and I was doing all the tactical bits and transfer hubs, and for Dortmund, he was operating in there. Like, that's where he was playing for Dortmund. And when we signed him, I thought, oh my God, we're going to have a left back that inverts into midfield. And we didn't really see it. And I think, even early on in the season, he was very just up and down. And it's only recently that he started to go in there. And I think that's when we've started to get the best out of him. And I think that's where he looks more comfortable as well, really. So, I think it's one of them.
I think next season we're going to see more of this. We're going to see more of him inverting, and I think our fullbacks will be a totally different style next season. I feel like if we're going to change tactically, I feel like that's an area where we're going to evolve it. Yeah.
I think what my final thoughts on this whole question regarding personnel and players is that Unai is absolutely ruthless. He's ruthless because you can look at these games against PSG, and Ollie Watkins didn't start either of them. That's a ruthless decision to go. You've beat my main striker, but now you're not starting, and I think that just shows the ruthless nature of Unai Emery. To be honest, what's anyone else think? I think
it is
ruthless.
You could say it's ruthless, but I think it's more. It's just how he sees the game, and I think players just have to accept that. Basically, he's the boss, isn't he? He's the big cheese, and he makes the decisions. And you can't really argue with him. If results wasn't going our way, if he wasn't on this incredible 2.5 seasons with him, maybe you'd have one or two more players, being open about being frustrated about maybe not playing in these big games. But you can't argue with him, can you? Yeah, how can you argue with the bloke? It's just literally insane. And whatever team he puts out, there's solid reasoning behind it. It's not like he's just thought, oh, I think he'll do all right there. These 2-3 home meetings he has, he'll be sitting them all down and giving his absolute nailed-on reasoning behind why, I think we can. Because when he's sitting down for the Newcastle game, he's sitting down and saying, right, you're playing here because of this reason and this reason and this reason. We've seen a weakness there, and there. We think you're the best player to exploit that. So you're going to do that. And, I'm sure they can go into the office and speak to him and say, I disagree with you. But then he probably comes out with an even more better reason why.
Yeah. I don't think I'd want it any other way. I'm perfectly fine with his ruthlessness, and he's got to be ruthless. We've got to a level now where we can't be sentimental. We talked a few weeks back about Daniel Marlon, didn't we? And I didn't have him in my team, and people were going, "No, he's got to play." But there's plans for Unai to use personnel in games, and the way he's managed Marlon has been sensational, really. For him to not make the Champions League squad and then be on the bench, and he had to bide his time. But look at him coming on now, bit between his teeth, banging goals, 3-3. Watkins the other day when he come on against Southampton, he had that vibe about him, didn't he? That pissed off vibe, and he come on and he gets the goal. Yeah, gets the goal. He wins the penalty. So that's what he's got to generate, and it's up to Unai to manage that, and he's managing it that way. When you're winning games, it backs up your decision, doesn't it? And then if you're coming on and making a difference, it justifies his selection. So it might be a bit trickier if we was to start losing some, but don't see that for a while.
I think we've got a squad of all players want to succeed and want to do well and want to be winners and want to win things. And I think, unfortunately, for some players, that you lose your place and someone else is going to keep that position, and you've then got to dislodge that player and fight for your shirt back. And that healthy competition is just what keeps the squad so competitive. So, yeah, it's great to see. Right, Justy, you've got the last two
places left in it.
You've got right back and off the striker. So two quite good positions for you there, mate.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Matty Cash at right back, and I think he needs a bit of a shout out, Matty Cash, because he's one of the players that gets a bit of stick. And I think overall recently, I think he's been really good. I think he's played in tough positions against tough opposition, and he's come out fighting. We know he's got weaknesses, but I think he gives everything. And I think up against Harvey Barnes, I'd probably want Matty Cash at the moment because I've won him coming off the back of what he had to play up against in the week. I think he's in a good position to take what he learned in the week up against Harvey Barnes. And, He loves a tackle, doesn't he? He loves to get back in, and his ball distribution is improving. So I think, I'll stick with Matty Cash. Now, the 10, I've got it different to you guys. So I had Rodgers on the left. I'd stuck Yuri because I love this box midfield four that we had when we played with Douglas Luiz, Kamara, Tielemans and McGinn. I love that. That was probably one of our best runs we ever went on when those four were playing. And I just think at the moment, Onana has come back and he's absolutely flying. So I quite like Kamara and Onana, Tielemans in the 10, and Rodgers out left, and just rest Rashford. But I mean, if you're sticking to what we've got on the screen there, then I think you've got to chuck Rodgers in, haven't you? Because I like Asensio off the bench and I like Marlon off the bench. I think they're perfect impact players for us now in the last few games.
I think Justin's on to something here, because something that I want to pick up on is that currently, if you look at this team, the midfield's got a bit of an overload, hasn't it? There's a 3v2 in there, and I kind of feel like it may look a bit more like that. So McGinn drops.
Do you not see Onana playing then?
I own down as a 50-50 with Kamara.
Yeah, I think
either Kamara or Onana. But
because we're not losing
their presence. You'd think, okay, let's throw Onana in there because that's a big engine that Newcastle have got in the middle.
And I think some people would say, okay, you're losing a bit more threat going forward if you're playing all the four of them. But just look at what Tielemans and McGinn both did to PSG. They both scored assists.
Yeah.
I think they still offer you that outlet up front as well. And I think they help with against a team that are strong in the midfield and are strong going, up front. And we have got those options to come off the bench, the likes of, an Asensio or a Rashford if he's on the bench, or a Marlon, to revert back to, the normal three attacking behind the front man. And we've got to we've got to be a little bit clever here. We've got to be a little bit. We can't just keep playing the same team all the time. And
no.
We've got huge games coming up over the next 5-6 weeks, and I think you will see a certain amount of rotation.
I actually had Ramsey in my team. So I had Ramsey on the left instead of Rashford. And I had Rashford up front with McGinn, Rodgers on the right, Yuri Kamara, Marlon, Mings, Konsa, and I had Garcia at right back.
Did contemplate Garcia.
I toyed with Diassi as well at right back just to stop that threat, because they're Barnes and Liverpool and so on that left hand side, and Diassi there.
Mobility would worry me a little bit. Diassi, that's the only thing.
But with Cash, like you say, Justin, to be fair, when Cash is fit, he plays. Uno always puts him in, doesn't he? Always puts him in.
So that's our team. Let us know what your team is. Let us know what you'd go with. I think that's it for today. So a little bit later preview. So we'll do score predictions then. I feel like a draw isn't a bad result against Newcastle. So I'm going to go 2-2. Ryan, what are you going with?
I wrote the same on my pad here. I went 2-2. I do feel like our bench could swing it.
Yeah.
If it's a tight game, like Newcastle's strength in depth, it is pretty much non-existent, really. And I feel like if it is close and it's getting down to the last 15 odd minutes, that we can really freshen it up and maybe sneak a winner. But my vibe is 2-2 as well.
Justin, where's your vibe at?
5-0.
I'm glad you said we're nearly finished because I've got 1% battery left. So I see just a goal fest. I think two teams that are going for it, both in good form, both scoring goals, both got absolutely nothing to lose, both want to win the game. I'm going to say we're just going to edge it by the odd goal. Let's go for a 4-3 banger.
Mate, I said I was knackered after Tuesday, and then we're going to have that.
Let's go again. Let's go again. 4-3.
I'm going to be
We're
cringe.
gonna go 3-0 down as well, Justin.
A Liverpool Newcastle, but from the old days, remember that, the 4-3
Yeah.
at Anfield.
Oh.
That was. We'll have one of them.
Justin, that's just tired me out even thinking about it.
Yeah.
Oh God! Right, on
That'd
that
be some weary limbs, wouldn't it? Have to wheel us out of there, mate.
Imagine it's 3-3 in the 90th minute. We're like, oh God, thank God for that. Right, see you in a bit. Right, guys. Cheers everyone for watching. Justin's gone, and we'll see you on the fan cams after the game. Up the Villa.
Up the Villa.